Hi, I'm Brian Warwick from Northern Vermont University, and I'm going to talk to you about a course that I developed for audio production students on pitch correction software. I am part of NVU Lyndon's Music and Performing Arts Department, but really we go by our major's name, Music, Business, and Industry. My other job is I've been a recording engineer for years. I've recorded people like Slayer, Jennifer Lopez, Toots and the Maytals, Catherine McPhee, Placido Domingo, Josh Groban, and the Jonas Brothers, and more recently, Weird Al Yankovic and Michael Bublé. And really, my goal is with this course was to take from those experiences of working with those great artists, and show part of the industry that is kind of overlooked, part of editing, part of audio editing that is overlooked. Most people think of Cher when they think of pitch correction software. And most of my students really start thinking about T-Pain. Some of them, even more recently, start thinking about Kanye West, Drake, Post Malone, and Young Thug. They're thinking about that hard tuning, that pitch correction sound that is more of an effect rather than an editing technique. Something that's it's something that the listener is very much aware of, rather than something in the background that's supposed to enhance the performance. So most of the general music listening public, they may not know that nearly every note sung in modern popular music has been manually pitch corrected by an audio engineer. So anything that you're hearing on top 40 radio that's probably been done in the past 15 years has been pitch corrected. Those vocals have been pitch corrected. And honestly, the average music listener has really been unknowingly accustomed to this effect. And what that does is that untuned vocals actually now sound a little bit unprofessional. They don't sound quite right. And the listener may not be able to put their finger on it, but it doesn't sound quite right. So it's really vital that modern audio engineers learn effective and subtle use of pitch correction software in order to have a successful career. And again, to go back on my career, learning how to pitch correct vocals brought me from a position where I was bringing people coffee to a position where people were getting me coffee. It was my transitional phase from going from an assistant engineer to a full-fledged independent recording engineer. This was really inspired by a gentleman who's no longer with us, a great recording engineer named Tal Herzberg. And what he said is that if you learn how to tune a vocal, you will never stop working. And I think that's totally true. That really stuck in my head. I was like, I really need to get a handle on how to do this. It's very difficult to do. It's time consuming to do, but I really felt like Tal was speaking from the heart. And Tal worked with some great people. He recorded Christina Aguilera, Mary J. Blige, Macy Gray, and Lady Gaga. So he really had his finger on the pulse of what needed to be done as a professional audio engineer. The course breaks down key elements of vocal production, as well as the techniques dedicated to pitch correct a vocal. So students will actually study the vocal techniques of modern singers like Ariana Grande, but they'll also be studying great singers of the past like Freddie Mercury to determine the qualities of a great vocal performance. It's also going to cover key elements of operating a pitch correction software. These elements are taught in conjunction with the aforementioned material, so connections are made between artistic decisions and technical decisions. Students are taught how to determine the key of a song, to confirm that the software's detection algorithm has correctly determined the tonal center of the song. Students are also shown how to interpret the software's pitch display. And this is important so students can accurately make subtle and creative decisions when it comes to tuning the source. We demonstrate the skills needed to subtly pitch correct a vocal performance, and we do this with Melodyne Studio software in conjunction with the Avid Pro Tools software to reinforce concepts that were learned in previous audio classes. There are other pitch correction softwares available, but there's really a lot of excitement around Melodyne, the transparency of Melodyne, and it really feels like having that on your resume, having that on your student's resume, your audio production student's resume, is gonna get their foot into the door. Also, Celemony, the makers of Melodyne, have a great amount of online resources that you can that I did put into my course. It's also a fairly user-friendly software. And to go back a little bit, I know there might be some hesitation on teaching pitch correction software. And I gotta agree with you that as a young recording engineer prior to knowing Tal Herzberg, I resisted using pitch correction software because I felt like it would make the performance feel disingenuous. What right do I have to modify somebody's performance? And then I thought about it some more, and I have a degree in music. Music is my life. It's one of the things that bring me great joy in my life. I would treat somebody's vocal performance with great care. So we have to accept that this technology is now a permanent part of the popular music landscape and a vital resource for recording engineers. Here's the big question, though. How do you train somebody to ethically pitch correct a vocal performance? So I designed a series of assignments that would prepare a student to tastefully use pitch correction software to support the artist and the music they are creating. And I want to show you the final project, right? So I want to show you where I want to get the students to. The end goal is the sing the vocal, tune the vocal assignment. So the student, and we're talking, these could be vocalists, they could be drummers like me. What they have to do is they have to sing a popular song and pitch correct the vocal. They actually find MIDI files of a selected song and they import that into Pro Tools. They create a rough mix with fader and pans, and this is learned in previous courses. They're going to place Melodyne on the lead vocal and the bass track inserts. They're going to sing the lead vocal themselves. Then they're going to tune the lead vocal. They can include background vocals if they would like to the key of the song. And that pitch correction should enhance the vocal and not be used as an effect. So they realize what it's like to be the artist and be pitch corrected, but they also get the experience of pitch correcting maybe a rather difficult vocal performance if they're not trained to do it. So some prerequisites of the course. They take in elements of music and a music theory 1 prior to taking this course. In our elements of music course, we have some students that come in with little to no music training. So that kind of gets them up to speed for a music theory 1. They also take 3 audio courses before this: digital recording, which is an introduction to digital audio workstations; intro to audio engineering to get them used to a recording studio; and hybrid mixing, which is a course that blends in the box mixing in Pro Tools with mixing with an analog recording console. We do this in our 16-station DAW lab that is set up with Logic, Pro Tools, and of course the Melodyne software. So 2 parts to this course. We have in-class and online discussions on what makes a great vocal performance. And then we are demonstrating skills needed to subtly pitch correct a vocal performance. So some of the topics are a brief history on pitch correction software and its use in popular music, discussions on the ethics and controversies of pitch correction software, and I found a bunch of fairly up-to-date online articles for the students to read, and I'll show you that at the end of the presentation. We introduce Melodyne, Autotune, and Waves Tune, which are kind of the 3 primary pitch correction softwares. And then specific problems that need to address principles, concepts, or techniques that remain challenging for each student. And a lot of the in-class discussions are whether or not the listener should be aware of the pitch correction. Does that actually pull away from the vocalist's performance? What are the ramifications for a listener being aware of pitch correction? There are some people probably watching this presentation that if they hear some kind of pitch correction, they're going to turn off that song right away. And how does the engineer honor, pay tribute to the intended performance while making it pitch perfect? We also talk about what makes a great vocal performance. We talk about dynamics. We actually sit and have a conversation on connecting different adjectives and emotions with the dynamic that the singer is singing. We also start talking about timing. Is the singer really on top of the beat? Are they right with the beat? Or stylistically, is it a choice for them to be behind the beat? And then, of course, pitch, accuracy, vibrato, and then the transition from note to note. So it really gets students listening to a vocal performance on a whole nother level. Online discussions. We have the ethics of performance manipulation. Again, each one of these online discussions is supported with some reading material, and the students reference that reading material in these discussions. So how much editing is too much editing? Does everything need to be perfect in a recording? Pitch correction as an effect. Do out-of-tune vocals remove the emotions from the music? Why does the auto-tune effect connect with such a wide audience? And will the auto-tune sound, that auto-tune effect, ever become dated? Is there ever going to be a point where we're like, oh wow, that is the sound of the 2000s and the 2010s? We also need to dive into Melodyne. So how to actually use the software as a plugin within Pro Tools, where to put it on the audio track. We need to transfer the audio into the software, make sure that our pitch grid has accurately determined the key of the song. We have to talk about the difference between blobs and lines, and that is how Melodyne shows where the pitch is. And we also have to talk about the different types of scale snap. So some of the tools that we have here, that we go into in detail. We go through the magnifying glass so we can zoom in and out of different areas, different performances. The pitch tool and the separation tool. Those are the key elements that we hone in on. The first assignment that they have to do is called Tune the Bass. They find a multi-track with a bass guitar or an upright bass, and they tune it. And it really tends to be a rather easy instrument to tune. It's monophonic, it's only playing one note at a time. And for the most part, the bass player is relatively in tune with the song. So it really gets students comfortable with the tuning process. Rather than have them focus so much on the performance right away of a complicated vocal, they can really just kind of hone in on using the basic functions of the software. It also gets students using scale snap and chromatic snap within the Melodyne software. So basically, we are able to take a blob, which actually controls where the pitch is, and you can double click on it and it will snap to the key of the song, the closest note within the key of the song. Then they move on to the tune the vocal assignment, right? So they find another multi-track, and all they have to do is tune the lead vocal. And this can be rather difficult because, again, there's a lot of dynamics. There's a lot of ways that vocalists can change the way they sing. So this is a fairly challenging assignment. They also have to tune the bass as well of this project. So they're actually getting more practice using that software and getting comfortable with the software. So they start by tuning the bass, create a rough mix again, place Melodyne on the lead vocal track, and tune the lead vocal and the bass guitar track to the key of the song. Again, it's stressed that the pitch correction should enhance the vocal and not be an effect. This is when we actually get into the pitch modulation and pitch drift tools. So pitch modulation, if we get rid of all the modulation on a singer's voice, you're gonna start getting that auto-tune effect, where the pitch drift tool will actually adjust things. It will make if a note actually starts trailing off and becoming a little bit flat, you can use the pitch drift tool to actually adjust and raise the end of a note so it is in the key of the song, and it doesn't remove the modulation and keeps the vocal sounding really natural. Their second to last assignment is tuning a background vocal. So again, they have to find a multi-track, they tune the bass, they tune the lead vocal, but then they have to tune background vocals to match that lead vocal. So it gets students actually used to using the multi-track editing mode within Melodyne, where they can actually see a grayed out version of the lead vocal on the screen, and underneath, above that, they can actually tune the background vocal to match that lead vocal performance. They learn how to transfer multiple files into Melodyne at the same time, and again, see those multiple performances on the screen. So some references that I want to make available to all of you are here. I really want to thank MEIEA for having me at the summit. I'm very disappointed that I couldn't be face-to-face with everybody, but I'm hoping to hit the next one, and I hope to really see you all soon. So stay safe and take care.